Hi there, my name is Erin Scott and I'm here today to present session 4 of our SEAL Professional Learning series, which is focused on the figurative stage of SEAL. So just before we dive into the figurative stage, I thought it'd be really nice just to take a few minutes in your staff teams to just pause and reflect on your previous training. How have you got on putting it into practice? Have you had the opportunity to use any of it? How have you found the different tasks and activities? What's been your learner experience like? What feedback have you maybe had from your learners? So just take a few minutes to share and reflect and then restart the video when you're ready. So for our session today, there is a number of key concrete resources and materials that you will require in your staff teams. The list is on the screen now, so if it's okay just to pause the video, ensure you have these organised and ready before you start. Ideally, one between two would work really well, and then restart the video when you're ready to go. So our key aims of our training session today is to firstly build your understanding of just what is involved in the figurative stage of SEAL. So in relation to the content, what progression looks like within each of the domains, what particular tasks and activities learners are going to be expected to engage with, and just to build your knowledge and confidence in exactly what this stage involves. The second key aim is to model lots of the different skills and the different practical tasks and allow you in your staff teams to have the opportunity and time to practice these, to practice either being the practitioner or to role play being the learner, just to build your confidence around exactly what is involved. Our third key aim is to share around the specific and key concrete resources that you will need to use as part of this stage, and also just then to give you the opportunity to practice using these as to how you're going to support your learners that are working in this stage. The fourth key aim, as with our other training levels so far, is to support you in building your knowledge and understanding of the specific SEAL vocabulary, so everything is very clear and makes sense, and as to what some of these different SEAL words mean, and just to help build that understanding. So we're just going to start with giving a little bit of an overview about the figurative planner. So this is the green level planner, and this is the first planner in SEAL that's double-sided. So just be really mindful of that when you're working through with your learners, that when you're working down a domain, there's two sides to each domain. Similarly to our first two levels, there is 6 different domains, and you will notice that the structure is really similar. So domain 1 is your kind of forward and backwards counting sequences, but now our number range is extended. So rather than just working to 30 that we were working in the perceptual stage, we've now extended that range to up to 100. Then thinking about the second domain, that's where we're really focusing on numerals. And again, it's going to be a lot around sequencing, around recognition, around identification, around our ordering skills. So very similar skills to what you've seen in the first two levels. We're going to be building on that with our new number range, and I'll be demonstrating all of these within the next few slides. Then within the third domain, we're really building on learners' understanding of additive tasks and combining groups of counters and thinking about building on that knowledge of addition and subtraction. And then moving on into domain 4 and 5. So we're really building on our work from the last two levels, which was looking at spatial patterns and thinking about those really key subitizing skills. We're now taking that on to 5 frames and 10 frames, and we'll be doing all the practical tasks around that. And then domain 6, similarly to the perceptual level, is focused on those early multiplication and division strategies and thinking about that sharing and grouping and all these different skills that come with that. So that's just a bit of an overview of the planner. Remember, we've got this new number range. And it's very interesting that this is the stage that you will very often find that learners have gaps in their learning at, that they might get stuck at for a little while because we've really extended this range. So it's going to be a really strong level to be doing a lot of practical tasks and work with your learners around. So we're now going to move on, just have a little think around the 6 domains within the figurative stage. So these are slightly different compared to that of the emergent level and the perceptual level that we covered in our previous 2 training sessions. Domain 1 is very similar in that it's starting with number word sequences, but now in that extended range of 1 to 100. So again, we're looking at forward sequences, backward sequences, thinking about learners' ability to bridge those decades. Can they do that forwards? Can they confidently do that backwards? We're also within this starting to think about that ability to now start counting in tens. And can the learner do that forwards and backwards? And again, not always starting from 0. And all of that is you will see modelled in our modelled examples video that we'll come on to. Domain 2 is numerals to 100. So similarly to our previous 2 training sessions, there's a lot of focus in this domain around numeral identification and being able to recognise the numbers from orally hearing it and then actually identifying what does that symbol look like, so that symbolic part. At that sequencing and ordering, that understanding of what number is smaller or what number is larger, and being able to accurately and effectively do that. Within this domain, we're working with our decade numbers. So when it's on decade, that's like 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. When it's off decade, it means the ones numbers staying the same, but you're moving up through the tens. So 33, 43, 53, 63, and so on. So those kind of skills we're going to be working at within domain 2. Moving on to domain 3, counting on, counting back. So again, we're working with our counters, we're working now with screens, and we're thinking again about those kind of rows of dot patterns and those early foundational skills that we'll link in later to bar modelling and those types of things. Then we move on in domain 4 to combining and partitioning involving 5 and 10. So this is where we're starting to use our 5 frame and our 10 frames that you will come on and fully see in the modelled examples videos. But again, it's that real ability to make and break numbers, that ability to partition numbers and thinking about how we can make different numbers, such a crucial foundational skill for our learners. So lots of practice of this. And using different materials is going to be really powerful and important in this domain. Then we've got partitioning and combining in the range 1 to 10. So again, this domain is also really working with those 10 frames and both the 5-wise pattern and pairwise pattern that we'll come on and explore. And then we're building on our work from the perceptual level, thinking around early multiplication and division skills. And it's at this level that we first meet an array pattern, which is rows of dots in a particular arrangement and really feeds into learners' early multiplication and division skills. We've also got a lot more work around shading and grouping and really thinking about the difference between shading and grouping and what that is within this domain. At this level, the figurative level, this is the first level that we meet the 100 square. So again, giving learners the chance to practice and experience using the 100 square throughout your training sessions and your work will be really powerful and really important. And this is the level that we find that quite a lot of learners might almost get stuck at and have particular gaps in. So it's going to be this level that's going to be really powerful and important to really develop a lot of these key foundational skills. So it's important to consider what kind of things you might observe or see in a learner who's working at the figurative stage in SEAL. So a learner at this stage might be quite confident now with forward number word sequences within the range of 1 to 30, but they might struggle or have challenges when that range is extended up to 100. So they might repeat numbers, they might omit numbers, they might have pausing, just a lack of fluidity in those forward number word sequences. And you might notice that more so when they're bridging across decades into the new decade or bridging backwards. You might find that they have challenges with number word before or after and just lack that kind of confidence and that kind of automatic ability to know number word before or after when working within 100. As we've kind of previously mentioned, backwards counting is always more challenging than forwards counting, and again you might see those challenges backwards within 100, particularly when bridging or crossing the decades. You might see a bit of digit reversal for 2-digit numbers, so they might identify 12, say, as 21, or say 73, 37, those kind of things, so reversing the digits. So again, that's something to be mindful of. You might find that they're really competent with finger patterns 1 to 5 and that they can throw out the numbers with that. But again, that 6 to 10, they might be slightly lacking more confidence with, or less kind of automatic within that. They might demonstrate kind of more challenges with subtraction tasks, or tasks where you've got like a missing number calculation and addition problem that we'll be coming on to explore as part of our training for this level, or comparison tasks that you might see challenges with. So again, that's what kind of key things to be looking out for. So we're now moving on to the highly practical part of our session today. So I'd like you to switch to the modelled examples video for the figurative stage. Start by watching the modelled examples for Domain 1. Then feel free to pause the video and practice having a go at the different tasks, activities and skills with a partner, where one person's acting as the instructor, one person's acting as the learner, so doing a little bit of role play, and make sure you're switching roles so you're having a little go at practicing with the script and seeing what feels really nice and comfortable for you when you're delivering it. Then restart the video and watch the modelled examples for the other domains. It might be that you don't practice all tasks and activities, but you just choose a little selection that you want to practice with your partner that you think would be most valuable before restarting. And then return to this video for our final reflective task at the end. So thank you very much for engaging with all the practical content today. I hope you found it useful, enjoyable, and that you've got a couple of ideas and strategies to go away with to maybe work with some learners in your own school or establishment. So I'd like you just to have a little think. What have been maybe 3 of your key takeaways from session 4 today? You might want to make a wee note of these to reflect back on. Consider any questions this training has now raised, or anything you're still thinking around or grappling with, and maybe just take a few minutes in your staff team just to kind of reflect and share any final thoughts before ending your session today. Thank you.